Alright, cool beans. Hope you guys did enjoy that small montage of Hex. I'm going to be going over an AoE StamWarden build. Good old StamWarden, the original AoE Stam beast. This thing, when it first came out, was honestly the most broken thing we had ever seen. It just took a while for players to realize how truly broken the Warden is. And to be honest, the Warden definitely has gone through some ups and downs. Came out from really broken to pretty broken, just being irrelevant to the point where people forgot it existed, and slowly it has made a comeback. Warden for sure definitely hits hard. But before we get started, if you guys can hit that subscribe and like button, really does go a long way and I greatly do appreciate it. Also leave down a comment what you guys want to see next. But without further ado, let's shock Donnie spin to win our way into the build. Alright, so for the first set we do run good old Rallying Cry. I mean, Rallying Cry is pretty much a meta staple build if you want damage on your back bar with some tankiness. I mean, look at that 5-piece. Getting up to 300 weapon and spell damage is 1650 crit resist. That's 25% damage mitigation from the bonus damage of crits right there. And the cool thing about this set, not only is it back barable, you can give this to your allies for a quote-unquote reduced potency. Like, next that we do run, I mean, was this any surprise? Battle-Orcs, of course we run Battle-Orcs. Battle-Orcs is the best monster set for damage. Being able to get a high amount of weapon and spell damage and a lot of penetration depending on how much ulti we drop. And don't even get me started on the 500 Battle-Orcs. 500 weapon and spell damage and over 11k penetration. Yeah, you're melting pugs with that. Next we do run One Piece Trainee because obviously this is a meta, you know, front bar back bar setup. You know, Trainee does give us the most max health for One Piece since we do have just one slot available. Like any other meta build, we do run a One Piece Mythic. What Mythic is that? Hello? Mark and Ring of Majesty, anybody? I mean, of course, with this build, like literally just slap this ring on this build, 200 weapon and spell damage and 2314 armor. Just here you go. Don't even have to think. Thank you, Zos. When am I gonna be able to wear 2 of these, please? Now for the main set we do run an oldie but a goodie. Good old Plague Break. Plague Break, I mean, not as, what's the word? Do I want to say strong, volatile, toxic as it once was? This thing was completely broken before they added the cooldown, and I'm not gonna lie, the cooldown kind of sucks. But what exactly does Plague Break do? You hit an enemy with direct damage attack, you put a dot on them. Cool, for 10 seconds, cool. We might make like a dot, that's it. No. The main thing about Plague Break is if that dot ends early, whether they purify it or they die, they explode for X amount of damage, which actually increases per enemy in the range. And this thing has a massive range. Look at that, an 8-meter radius. That's a massive range. So if you pop one person, they're probably gonna just chain react instantly. It's just gonna go crazy. All right, so the way we do run it, so we do run a dual wield Plague Break. I do like 1 dagger and 1 mace. I really like this one. Dagger because we do get extra crit, don't sleep on crits, and a mace because in PvP penetration is king. On the front bar, I actually do run a poison. So yeah, with these poisons, we increase our spell crit by 6%. That's a lot of crit. You know, crits is what hits. And for the back bar, we do run a Rallying Cry Resto. I absolutely love Resto, especially on this build. On demand major mending, plus you get a bunch of magic from a Resto, like hello. So before I forget, which I almost forgot. So for the traits, on the main hand, please go Nernhone, and on the off hand, for the dual wield, go Sharpen. Please, Nernhone main hand, please, it makes a difference. And for the back bar, we do go Defending because honestly, tankiness is next to godliness. So for the body, we do run the typical 3-3-1, 3 heavy, 3 light, 1 medium. So for our heavy, we do run a heavy head and shoulders of Battle-Orcs. And for our last piece of heavy, we do run a heavy chest of Trainee. For my 1 light, I do run a Rallying Cry Sash. And for my medium, I do run a medium hands, legs, and feet of Plague Break. So for the traits, I do run 6 Impen, 1 Reinforce. Yes, 6 Impen, 1 Reinforce. So the only Reinforce in this build is a heavy chest of the Trainee Reinforce. Isn't there a lot of Impen you're running around? Yeah, I really love a lot of Impen. Because with this build, we're pushing like 58%, you know, crit damage mitigation from crits. If you want, you can replace some pieces for Reinforce or Well Fitted. That's what I like about builds. We can fit to our playstyles. I just hate those pesky Night Blazes. Any way to reduce their damage, I'm going for that. So for the enchants, if you can, try stat all the pieces. If you can't do that, try stat the big pieces. What I mean by that is head, chest, and legs. And if you can't do that either, max stam is perfectly fine. Just adjust your health attributes at the end. Now for our jewelry, we do run a Rallying Cry neck and ring. And for my last piece, and we do run a Mark and Ring of Majesty because Market only comes in a ring, duh. So the way we do to run it, we run all infused, all spell damage. Yes, all infused, all spell damage. For this build, it doesn't really matter. You can go weapon damage or spell damage. Next patch, it won't even matter what you wear. If you are getting this ready for next patch, I would highly recommend going weapon damage because you'll at least get some stam recup next patch from it. Now you could go all bloodthirsty. I feel like full bloodthirsty on this build would make your spin to win slap so hard. But unfortunately, I don't have a second set of Rallying Cry gold jewelry. That's what I'm trying to get my hands on. So for the food we do run, I mean, good old typical Orzhkov's smoked bear haunch, the best food in the game for recup. A bunch of max health with a bunch of recup for everything. Obviously, if you can't afford this food, because trust me, this thing is pretty pricey, or if you're saving your perfect row for the Arcanist, Joseph Mithril is a perfect alternative. It's basically the purple version. 400 less health with 12 less recup. Like, you won't even notice that. And now for the pots, we do run just typical good old tripods. If you do have deep pockets and are rolling and are, you know, balling, you could run the minor heroism pots with mag and stam if you're rolling deep pockets. But for the poor peasants like myself, good old crown tripods or any of the pots you can craft. Alright, but enough of that. Let's go over the skills now. Alright, so our first skill is actually our flex spot. My first skill is my flex spot. So you can either go Fetch Your Infection, which puts minor vuln and gives you 4% crit for having it slotted, or you can go a bunch of alternatives. You can either go Living Trellis for an extra heal, you could go Turn Evil for a stun, you could go either Morph of Accelerate for, you know, minor force. Either one is perfectly fine, up to you what you want. Now for the main skills we do run is Bird of Prey. I mean, this skill is kind of cracked. This is our snare immunity that grants us major expedition and minor berserk while slotted. Like, hello? Like, this skill is pretty cracked, I'm not gonna lie. Next, I do run Shimmering Shield. I love this morph. Not only because, you know, we're basically almost immune to damage from range, but the main thing is we get major heroism. That is huge. With Battle that's a lot of extra weapon and spell damage and pen we can get. Next, we do run Deep Fissure. This is basically what sets up our burst. We start up the shocks, they go off for 3 seconds, and they actually resurface and do a lot more damage, which I didn't know that for the longest time. So if you are absolutely trying to burst a stat, hit him with the resurface. But the main piece of resistance, sorry if I butchered that, is that it puts major and minor breach on the target. Almost 9k armor shred for every enemy you hit, which is insane to think about from something you can precast. Next, we do run Whirling Blaze. This is basically our spammable / execute. The lower health they are below 50% health, the harder we hit, and trust me, this thing can hit really, really hard. Next, obviously, Dawnbreaker Smiting. I mean, look at that, over 17k Dawnbreaker pre-Rallying Cry. That's pretty crazy. Does a lot of damage in a cone, stuns them, and if they can live the tail of the Warden burst, well, that dot's certainly going to tickle them down. For our back bar, we do run Lotus Blossom. This skill is honestly pretty cracked, and I love this skill by Warden. This is exactly how we get our major Savaging Prophecies. 12% crit on both bars for 1 minute, and this thing is dirt cheap, and it can heal. Like, what? Next, we do run Ice Fortress. This is basically our armor buff that also grants us minor protection. Next, Resolving Vigor. This is basically our burst hot, heals us a lot over 5 seconds, and grants us minor resolve. Next is the Netch. Depending on what you want, you can run any morph of the Netch. If you feel like you need more mag, run the Blue Betty Netch. If you feel like you need more stam, Bull Netch. Honestly, I keep, you know, swapping back and forth between these two. And next skill we do run is Polar Wind. The main reason I love this Polar Wind is because it has a hot. I absolutely love hots. That's what keeps us alive. Not only that, you can actually heal an ally. So if you have Rallying Cry and you heal an ally, that's another chance of proccing Rallying Cry and making you super immortal, like making your small scale super immortal basically. And last skill is Permafrost. Mostly just there for the pass, having almost 1k armor just for having it slotted. But this can actually come really good in play when you're in a small scale. This thing can actually do some work. All right, but enough of that. Let's go over the stat sheets. Alright, so for this one we will be in Cyrodiil since we do need Battle Spirit active for one of our sets. Alright, so for our front part, let's just buff up real quick. Proc our Rallying Cry real quick. Alright, look at those stats. Look at that spell damage. Almost 5,900 spell damage. And our health is at 33.3k. Mag recup and stam recup looking really good. And our crit's at 31.1%, which can go up to 37.1 when we proc our crit poisons. Our penetration may look low, but you have to realize we have access to minor and major breach, which is almost 9k armor shred, and Bowlers, obviously. So let's check out our resist on our back bar real quick. So our resist on our back bar, look at that. Spell resist 32.5 and physical resist at 31.7k. Hello, and our crit resist at 37.32. Yeah, we are incredibly tanky on that back bar. So for our attributes, I do run 10 points into health and 54 points into stam. If you want on this build, you can go all into stamina. Honestly, your health is really good on this build when we proc minor toughness. For the Mondays, we do run the serpent. I felt like on this build, I absolutely did need the serpent. That way I could run the magnet and be able to, you know, sustain all my mag ability. And obviously we are a stage 3 vampire because of one simple passive, undeath. The lower health we are, the tankier we become. And for my race, I am an Imperial. I felt Imperial was perfect for this build. Why is that? I mean, look at that. Tough, 2k health, the most health you can get from a race. 2k stam, but most importantly, red diamond. Reduces the cost of all our abilities by 6%. So our Magicka and stam abilities cost 6% less, plus our ultimates cost 6% less. So the alternatives for this, you could be an Orc. Orc would be really good. Dark Elf could be pretty good. Khajiit obviously could work on any build. When we crit, Khajiit just hit really hard. And now everybody wants to see the fully proc Battleworks, of course, right? Let's check it out. Let's just fully buff up. Look at that. Spell damage over 6,500, and our physical and spell pin is almost at 18k. That is crazy to think about. All right, but enough of that. Let's go over the CP now. All right, so for the blue CP, we do run Fighting Finesse, increases critical damage, critical healing done. Master at Arms, increases our damage done with direct damage attacks. Biting Armor, increases our damage done with AoE attacks. And Ironclad, reduces our damage taken by direct damage attacks. If you want, if you're saying, no, I want to go full damage, you could replace Resilience for Occult and absolutely do some work. But up to you personally, what you want to do. For our red CP, we do run Celerity, increases movement speed by 10%. In my opinion, the best CP in the entire game. Survival Instincts, while affected with a status effect, your core combat skills cost up to 25% less. Relentlessness, being stunned or fear grants us major protection for 3 seconds. And lastly, but certainly not least, Pain's Refuge. The more negative effects we have active on us, the tankier we become. And green CP, I mean, doesn't ever really matter. Rationer, Liquid Efficiency, Gifted Rider, and Sea's Blessing. Alright, but enough of that. Let's shock our way into some gameplay now. Alright, cool beans, but I hope you guys did enjoy the build video. Honestly, StamWarden feels great, whether it be 2H or dual wield. Honestly, StamWarden is just a force to be reckoned with. Can do almost anything it wants. But yeah, I hope you guys do enjoy the rest of the gameplay. Honestly, me and my buddy Chum Graham, we were just slaying pugs at. But where this build excels is the group play. Like in a 2 to 4 man, this thing is perfect. But alright, hope you guys did enjoy that build video. Like the video if you liked it. Comment your thoughts or experience with the build. Also, anything I might have missed out. What build I should do next. Subscribe for more. But most importantly, stay zerging.